Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum students. This is your 6th lecture of physics for class 10th. It is again about sound, that is your chapter number 11. In this chapter we are going to learn the characteristics of the sound waves, likewise loudness, pitch, quality and intensity of sound. Now we are going to discuss the first characteristic, that is loudness of sound. What actually is loudness of sound? Loudness is the characteristic of sound by which we can distinguish between loud and a faint sound. For example, when we talk to our friends, our voice is low, but when we address to a public gathering, our voice is loud or high. Now the loudness of sound depends upon the number of factors, likewise amplitude of vibrating body, area of the vibrating body, distance from the vibrating body, and physical condition of the ears. Now first of all, amplitude of the vibrating body. The loudness of sound varies directly with the amplitude of the vibrating body. Greater the amplitude of vibration, louder the sound. Lower the amplitude of vibration, lower the sound. As you can see in the animation, that when the guitar strings are plucked violently, the sound produced by them is much more as compared to the drum which is going to be beat by a single stick. So this shows that a loud sound is produced by increasing amplitude. Greater the amplitude, greater the sound. Lower the amplitude, lower the sound. So there is a direct relation between loudness and amplitude of the vibrating body. Now the next one is area of the vibrating body. The loudness of sound also depends upon the area of the vibrating body. As you can see in the animation that a person is beating a drum with a larger area, or you may say the membrane of that drum is greater. So when it beats the drum, as the area increases, so the sound produced by that increased area is also louder. Whereas in the lower animation you will see a small drum beaten by the stick. So the area is smaller, area of vibration is small, so the loudness produced by that drum is smaller. Now we are going to talk about another example. Now we have to strike a tuning fork with a rubber pad. A feeble sound will be heard, but if the vibrating tuning fork is placed vertically on the surface of a table, we will hear a louder sound. From this we can conclude that the loudness increases with the area of the vibrating body, which means increasing the area of the vibrating body, the louder sound will be produced. So there is a direct relation between loudness and area of the vibrating body. Now we are going to discuss another very important characteristic, that is distance from the vibrating body. Loudness of sound also depends upon the distance of the vibrating body from the listener. As you can clearly see in the picture, that when you chit chat with your friends, you sit closely, so you have to talk with your friends in a low tone. But when you have to talk with a gathering, as you can see in the next picture, you have to be louder, and as the distance going to be increased, the loudness of your voice is going to be decreased. So there is an inverse relation. If the distance is shorter, loudness is greater. But if the distance is going to be increased, loudness is decreased. It is caused by the decrease in amplitude due to the increase in the distance. Now the last one is physical condition of the ear. Loudness also depends upon the physical condition of the ear of the listener. A sound appears louder to a person with sensitive ear than to a person with the defected ears. As the age passes by, your hearing ability also affected. Now another very interesting characteristic, that is the pitch of the sound. Pitch is basically the characteristic of sound by which we can distinguish between a shrill and a grave sound. It depends upon the frequency. Higher the pitch means higher the frequency, lower the pitch means lower the frequency. And what actually is the frequency? Frequency is related with the number of waves. Greater the number of waves, greater the frequency. Lower the number of waves, lower the frequency. As you can see in the diagram, that low pitch diagram has less number of waves, whereas high pitch diagram have greater number of waves. As we can see, the frequency of the voices of ladies and children is higher than that of men. Therefore, the voice of ladies and children is shrill and of high pitch as compared to men. Now, the new one is quality of sound. The characteristic of sound by which we can distinguish between two sounds of same loudness and pitch is called the quality of sound. As it is clear from the figure that we have three different wave shapes of three different instruments, that one is tuning fork, fluid and clarinet. As we can see that this is due to the fact that these waveforms are different in the quality of these notes. The waveform of the sound produced by the tuning fork, fluid and clarinet. The loudness and the pitch of these three sounds are the same, but their waveforms are different. So their quality is different and they can be distinguished from each other. So quality of sound depends upon the waveform. Now we have another very interesting example that while standing outside a room, we can distinguish between the notes of a piano and a fluid being played inside the room. This is due to the fact that there is a difference in the quality of these notes. Intensity. Sound energy passing per second through a unit area held perpendicular to the direction of propagation of the sound wave is called intensity of sound. The intensity of sound depends on the amplitude of the sound wave. Intensity is a physical quantity and can be measured accurately. As it is a physical quantity, so it must possesses the unit, and its unit is watt per meter square. Now by the end of my lecture, I am going to give you some questions for your practice. Likewise, what is the difference between the loudness and intensity of sound? On what factor does the loudness of sound depends? What is the difference between the frequency and pitch? Describe their relationship graphically. Describe the effect of change in amplitude on loudness and effect of change in frequency on the pitch of sound. I hope you will enjoy this lecture. We will meet in the next lecture. Until then, Allah Hafiz.